The muzzle is off. Let go of the shame, remove all the pain, block it out like a troll on your timeline. The past is what made you who you are today. Embrace it, let it go like an exhale. Remove it, remove it, remove it. The muzzle is off.
All right, welcome everybody to the Muzzle is Off podcast, where I am your host, Nakia Monet, and we have a very special edition of the Muzzle is Off podcast tonight. This is something that I like to call the Author's Corner, and I like to feature new authors to come onto the podcast and give us some insight into a book in which they have written. And tonight we have Mrs. Fran Rogers-Williams, and she wrote an awesome book. It is entitled, I Am Just a Vessel. Welcome, Fran.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for even coming on to really and truly talk about your book. Can you just give us some insight into who you are, Fran? Just let us know who is Fran Williams? Who is she?
Well, Fran is forever a New Jersey girl, even though I'm currently living in North Carolina and have been here for about 18 years now.
Come on, Jersey. Okay.
I'm still New Jersey to core. So I'm from New Jersey. I'm the matriarch of my family right now. And I am a mother, first of all, a wife. I am a mother. I'm a grandmother. I am a great grandmother. So yes, I've been here, like I said, in North Carolina for about 18 years. I am an alumni of Eastside High School from Paterson, New Jersey. So that's where I'm originally from. I currently work in the HR field here in North Carolina. Enjoyed that. I just love people, love working with people. I've mentored for many years. Just been involved in the past in a lot of community activities through school, working with seniors, senior adults, and just trying to be as helpful and as vigilant as I could be in the community. So that's a little bit about me.
Well, that's awesome. Well, like I said, welcome and welcome again. What I want to get started with is, what was the inspiration behind writing the book, I Am Just a Vessel?
Well, I knew for many years that I had a story inside of me. I went through a lot of different things from my childhood up through my adulthood. I married very early, and started. I was married at 17 years old the first time, and just went through a lot of traumatizing things that a lot of people don't always make it through. And as I went through those times, even though there were some times that were harder than other times, there were times that I kept pushing. I kept having faith that there had to be something different. There had to be something better. And I would go through my dark times where I felt like it was over. I felt like it was, time to end my life or something like that, to make things, better for my children. I went through all of that, but at the end, I mean, like I kept bouncing back and I kept bouncing back. And I was like, wow, my mom ended up saying to me, she said, Fran, you have a book inside of you. She used to tell me all the time, she said, you've gone through more in my young adult life than she had been through in her lifetime. And she just knew, she said, the fact that I kept bouncing back, she said there was a story to be told. Somebody needed to hear it. And even through it, me writing that story, that, the prayer was that I would get healing as well. So that was what encouraged me to write the book.
So it's kind of like cathartic for you,
Mm-hmm.
and then in order to inspire others as
Right.
well.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
what is I Am Just a Vessel about?
So it actually, I'm very transparent in the book, and it just talks about different things that I've gone through in my lifetime, and how God just always showed up for me, and how it pretty much expresses, and I talk about from my childhood, from being a child, and going through some abuse there as a child, and then even through my adult life, becoming a part of domestic violence, how I just continue to just trust in God, and how God ended up showing up for me every single time. I know that there are so many that don't make it to tell the story, but I thank God that I used to say when I was young all the time, I used to say, I'm one of God's chosen people. I'm one of God's chosen people. I used to say that just in playing, just was not thinking anything about it really. But as I went to write my book and began to write things down, I began to feel that even more in my spirit, how I felt like I was one of God's chosen people, because I was like, wow, I've been through some crazy stuff. I've been so many places I shouldn't have been. I've done so many things I shouldn't have done. I've seen so many things I shouldn't have seen, and how I made it through that, and how I don't look like what I've been through. So that the book just talks about that, and it just gives some insight on how real God is, and how that this is the only story I know to tell, and that's what this book is all about, just to express how real God is, and how if he's allowed these things, allowed me to go through these things, and me to be where I am now, I'm not the only one. I know that God can do the same thing for someone else. So, and God will.
And he will.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more or less like bringing the real life situations that occurred,
Right.
and showing how God is yet ever so present, even when we feel that we can't see him, even when we feel that we can't feel him, even when we feel like as if his presence is not there. It's bringing
That's
that
right.
real life experience to say, no, he's still here. Because look
He's
at
still
how,
here. That's
yeah.
right. That's right. That's so true. It's just that I mean, there's still sometimes, like even after I've written this book, that I have to remind myself, and I have to go back, and I have to think about different things that I wrote during that time, because when I really got down deep into writing my book, I tell people all the time, like, my hands started writing some things I didn't even realize I wrote until I went back to read it, and I was like, wow, I wrote that. But I realized how God was speaking through me in my writing this book. I knew that this book wasn't about me, just about me, but actually giving glory to God, and how different things, I ended up writing, that it was powerful even to me. There were times when I was writing this book that I had to stop and start shouting, or I had to stop and just start giving God praise, because I felt him speaking to me in this book, and my healing taking place as it was going on.
So even as you were writing the book, you were being healed.
Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely, absolutely.
Can you talk a little bit about that, like as far as, and not the specifics as far as the book, but the journey through healing, right? Because like a lot of, like one of the things that my dad had asked me when I wrote my book, I wrote a book, The Secret Wives, The Lives That Bind. And he said, Kia, was that cathartic for you? Did
Mm-hmm.
you find healing as you wrote it? And I had to tell my dad, I was like, well, Daddy, I honestly, I wrote the book like 2 years ago. It's just now I'm just now publishing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I said, but when I had to go back and edit it and read through the stuff and read through everything that I wrote, yeah, it definitely was. It was like, okay, now you can put this to rest,
Right.
you know.
That's
So
exactly
talk
right.
about that level of a journey when you're writing like that, in that in such a way that it does bring self-healing, as well as it's going to bring healing to others as they read through the story.
Right. Because I actually, in writing, there's so many things that's happened in my past life that I have no remembrance of whatsoever. I don't remember half of my teachers that I had in school. Like, so many things I have really lost. But there are some things that are pinned and engraved in my head and in my mind. And as I was writing this book, and I was writing through some of these things that actually made my publication, like, that means they were in my head really deep, that they made publication for people, for the world to see, made me know that there were some things that I was holding on to. There were some things that I was still harboring in my heart. There were things that I was still, holding on to in my head, that I really needed to get past, and so writing this book helped me to put that down on paper. People talk all the time about, writing, and how, writing just really, really helps. I mean, I don't care if you never decide to write a book. It's something about journaling and writing down your feelings and your thoughts that allows you to get past that, get past some things. So yes, I did. As I was writing this book, there were some things, like I spoke about that I dealt with domestic violence in my life, and how I needed to, even though I felt like I had forgiven the people that were involved in that, even though I felt like I had forgiven them, there was still a hurt and a pain that was still inside of me. And as I wrote it down on paper, I was able to see them and actually release it in my head, in a different way. There was a spiritual connection, where I was actually able to release it, and somewhat, and not somewhat, but get past it, and was like, all right, I'm okay now. I'm good with this. I realized what happened, but the best part about it was that God brought me through it, and he brought me through it for a reason. My life could have ended back then when I was going through this domestic violence, because that was the intention of my abusers, to end my life, but it didn't happen, because my story needed to be told. And it was, the fact that I was able to put it down on paper and put it in a book for people to read it and to see it, it is to be a blessing to someone else, besides myself.
So let me ask you this, because what do you say when a person might say, what's the point of you writing about it? What is the point of you bringing up old memories? What is the point? How is that healing you to actually write about a situation that was traumatic? What do you say to that?
That it gives you a sense of peace, that you're able to let it go. Like, to me, I I buried those things in my thoughts and in my writing. I buried it. I put it. I casted it way out into a sea of and I can't say forgetfulness because I've never forgotten. I still have not forgotten about these things that happened to me in the past. But I can truly say that it allowed me to bury it as I was writing and I let a whole lot of things go. It really did. So the purpose of writing it was to do just that, was to, I need people to know that, a lot of times people feel like they're the only ones that's going through things. That's the thing right there. They think like, this is only happening to me, and I'm never gonna make it through this. So when they can read, that other people have gone through these things as well, and and they made it through it, and how God helped them to get through these different things. Sometimes that helps to give other people a sense of peace and awareness that it's possible that things can change for you as well.
And I believe in that, right? Because at the end of the day, you being able to release it from even yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we never forget what happens to us,
Right.
but we can heal beyond the hurt of what happened.
Mm-hmm.
I might see a scar and I'm going to remember, oh, when this happened, right? I was 5 years old and I hit my arm on this, right? And I have the scar to remember it. But what I don't remember is the pain.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So I remember the experience of it, but I don't quite remember how much it hurt.
Absolutely.
So, and I think that sometimes that's where we get confused that when people actually write out their story, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm writing the story not because I want to keep remembering the pain.
That's
I'm writing
right.
the story because I still have it's a scar. That scar is not going anywhere.
It's absolutely not.
So I
Absolutely
have
not.
this scar, and now I'm actually going to write about this scar. But what I'm removing from the scar is the pain of the situation, so I could talk about what happened,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm no longer fearful. I'm no longer crying and remembering all of the bad things and all of that. I have disassociated myself from the actual pain because I have transformed that pain into power and into purpose. So now I can speak it and I could write it because I'm free from it. And I think anytime we write of our story, people misconstrue that.
They do.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And so often we could end up allowing that wound to be opened again. We can allow that to possibly happen, but once we've gone through something, then you're more aware of how to get through it, I guess, in a different way. And like you said, it gives you power to get to that next level. It's sort of like one of those little energy. I always think of Pac-Man. I'm from way back in the day, but how with Pac-Man, how Pac-Man used to get, or Ms. Pac-Man used to get those little energy balls to become even stronger and more powerful. And it's like you began to get stronger and grow as you go through different things in life. So the book has been a blessing. It may sound crazy sometimes to even say that what I went through was a blessing. It brought me to who I am now and to the person that I am now. And I feel like I learned some very valuable lessons along the way. It's humbled me, in so many ways that it's been amazing how I see things now opposed to how I did so many years ago. And so the book has been a blessing in so many ways.
And that's the truth of the matter, because it literally allows you to go on that journey of life too, to move beyond where you were. And then you can literally see you know what? I'm so much better now than I was before. It has literally helped me to see things differently. And now look at me now,
That's right.
It's like the heal, a lot of times when we go through certain experiences, it's like the broken you gets recognized more than the healed you, right?
Isn't that something?
Yeah, because it's like everyone wants to remember you as the broken person, but once you heal, they want to keep reminding you that you were broken.
Right. Exactly. For what? For what?
And then
I
and then assume that every time you open your mouth is because you're still broken.
right.
I can speak now because I'm healed. When I was broken, I had no words.
That's right. So true.
Yeah.
So true.
Did
That
you
is amazing.
experience any of that? Like because when you first put your book out?
That people kept looking back at the other side of me. Well, this is my thing, Nakia. I have never been in like a huge amount of relationships. So, if things were being said or, or whatever about me during this time, I'm sure some incidences that I wrote about in my book, I'm sure didn't make people happy. In fact, I was confronted about some of those things, but I made it very clear, in my book in the beginning that, in me writing this book, that I had already forgiven all of the people that caused me pain. That this was not about to make anybody look bad at this time or whatever. I didn't mention any names, but the people that read it, I'm sure they knew that that it was about them. But my thing was, it wasn't about them and making them look bad. It was about, me getting past the hurt of what they had caused, and even some instances that some hurt that I may have caused. So I asked forgiveness, as well as, being very clear that I had forgiven anyone that had caused me any hurt, in me writing this book. So I was okay, and I believe that that this book did cause some relationships to I don't know, it may have caused some relationships to stay away even more, because some people that were talking to me at the time, when I wrote the book, didn't talk to me as much afterwards. But it's okay. It was okay, because anybody that couldn't understand what this was about, may not have needed to be in this space with me anyway.
And that's the sad part about it. It's like, why can't we maintain relationship
Right.
even after the fact?
Mm-hmm.
What I'm doing is for me. It's
Mm-hmm.
not for you. It's
Mm-hmm.
not for your benefit. It's for me.
It's for me,
And
right?
if you truly are supportive, or a friend, family, whatever
Mm-hmm.
the case, then you're going to support me through
Through
as
this.
I release what I need to release so I can move, beyond where I'm at.
You are absolutely.
So after you released the book and everything, how did you feel?
Oh man, it was an amazing feeling, because I started this book, like I was given this book in my mind back in 2000. I want to say, I always forget the exact date, but it was around 2012. 2012, that's when it was. 2012 was when I was first given this book, the title of it, and where I just knew I wanted to write a book and that I needed to write a book. But in 2012, I was at a TD Jakes Woman Thou Art Loose conference, and there was Cheryl Brady was speaking at the time, and she was talking about it's in you, it's in you. And I remember the Holy Spirit just really coming down upon me during that time, gave me the title to my book, what I needed to write about, and everything. Started giving me chapters I needed to add in my book and everything right there at that conference. And I went through this. I started writing the book, came back home all hyped and excited, and then something happened, and I say that it caused a spiritual abortion. What I had inside of me actually left, like everything left, and I ended up not picking my book back up again until like 2016, and that's when I started writing again. But at that time, I was given a deadline that it had to be done by December 31st. 2016.
So that deadline
So
helped you push.
yes. So I began to write that book. I kept hearing in my spirit that you're gonna have this baby. You're gonna have this baby, and you're gonna have it by December 31st. And so I began to write this book, and that I love to tell this story that the night that I finished writing my book, December 31st, it was about 11:50 at night. Like that's how close I was. And after I finished writing the book, I put it down. I said, okay, that was it. And I began to have this pain in my body. Like it was crazy, horrendous. Like it started in my back. It was all throughout my stomach. And I was out of town at the time when I finished this book. I was out of town, and so my husband and I were at a hotel, and he was in the bathroom, so I couldn't go to the bathroom. I didn't know if I needed to use the bathroom. I didn't know what was going on. The pain was excruciating. And to make a long story short, I just began to get in positions and stuff on the bed and just trying to make the pain go away. And after the pain subsided and I sat down, my husband came out the bathroom. I said, I don't know what just went on just now. I said, but something crazy went on in my body. And the Holy Spirit immediately spoke to me and said, you just birthed your baby. And what I was experiencing was labor pains. And it was so powerful to me. I knew everything in me that this book was supposed to be. I knew it. I knew it. There was nothing else that could be said. And I knew that I did what I was supposed to do. And God was making connection with me. And he knew, and he wanted me to know that I was right there when you completed this book as you were told to do. And it was amazing. So after writing this and finishing this book, I felt a power like never before. Like I felt like this amazing person. Like you couldn't tell me anything. Like I was just totally excited by what happened. So it was an awesome feeling. It really
Like
was.
it is finished. I have accomplished this.
Exactly. So it was really good. And just really still trying to get to that place again because I want to write more, and trying to get to that place where I can find a peace and a still in my mind to begin to write again. And I want to experience that feeling all over again. I really do. So
Ain't nothing to it but to do it.
that's right.
Just gotta
Just get that pen and paper and start going,
just
right?
start going, just start writing, just start doing as I do. Anytime I write, it's like I gotta do a total brain dump. Whatever's in here, I gotta dump it out.
Dump it.
So I'm just gonna write it.
Yeah.
And let editors figure out how to piece it all together and make it look pretty, right? I'm just gonna write it. I'm a writer, so I'm gonna write it and then let the editors piece it all together.
Let them piece it together.
Yeah.
See, that was the difference with me. I self-published this book, so I went through, I did everything from start to finish, and first time ever, and of course after I wrote the book and I published it, and I felt like I had already read it 50 times already, but I published it, and then when I read it again after I had sent it to people, I went back to read the book. I said, oh my goodness, I can't believe all these typos in here. And I went back and I did it again, and just kept doing it until I finally had it to where I needed it to be. But those people that got my first copies, I know they were like, wow, she got a lot of typos in here.
And that's okay, because it happens. That happened to me with the first batch. I want to say with the first batch of my books that came. People read it and they were like, Nakia, this says this, and I'm like, what? So I went back in, I edited it, I changed some things up, repushed it back out, and I just told them, I was like, I'll get one when I get this new batch. I'm gonna switch out y'all books. So and that's what I did. I switched out the books because I'm like, you don't want anyone to have a book that ain't properly edited, right? You don't
Right,
want
right.
you don't want 2 and A, and then it's not even making sense coming behind each other,
Right.
and just in because for some, when they read it like that, and they read things that are grammatically incorrect,
Right.
it literally can throw them completely off to the entire message, because they're just stuck on the fact that that didn't make any sense. Why would you do,
Right,
Then you
right,
have
right.
an editor. Yes, I did. Okay. Editors are human.
Right.
They make mistakes. Even some of y'all New York Times best-selling books got editing issues. Okay, don't come for me and mine. All right. But it was it was definitely a learning experience. Because even for the format of like the inside of my book, I went on where'd I go? I went on Fiverr and found someone to format it for me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like there were so many different phases of the book process that I learned putting out my book. So I was just like, this is a very interesting process. You
Mm,
learn a whole lot
you
about
do.
publishing and stuff like that. So the fact that you self-published your book is even better, because you learned it all. You learned how to
Yeah.
get your ISBN number. You learned how
Mm-hmm.
to, get the copyright and do it. Because I don't know if anyone out there is an author, but your book has to be copywritten.
That's
Like
right.
you can't just put a book out just because you want to put a book out. No, you need
Ex-
to pay that good $100 and get it
That's right.
copywritten. You know, and there's just so much more to it. And truth be told, because I self-published my book as well, I just paid someone to edit it and do the cover and all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I was like, I didn't know how to do. Like, I'm not an editor, so
Mm-hmm.
I can spot simple grammatical stuff, but fluidity between a book, that's not my thing. So I paid somebody to do that or whatever, and and she still walked me through everything else that I needed to figure out. Like, she did my cover. The cover was dope. The way she pieced the cover together just by her reading the book was dope. You meet so many different people when you're in this
Yeah.
process of publishing and writing a book. So it's good that you actually were able to do it all yourself. So
I
it's like,
did.
the process. Like, all right, I got to pick a book cover, and I got to do this, and I got to do that. So you already know it. So
Yeah.
now you just got to write book number 2.
I do, but I don't want to self-publish this time. I want to get that experience of meeting other people out there that know how to do the different parts and pieces and pull it all together for me. So that's what my next experience is going to be, having
I know
someone else
that's
do
right.
all the work, so all the extra work. So I'm looking forward to it, though. I really am. I,
No, I think it'll be good.
mhm,
Letting people, the message behind a book, I am just a vessel, right? Letting people know that at the end of the day, who I am is a willing vessel for God to use.
that's right.
At the core of me, I am a willing vessel for God to
To
use,
use me.
you know, and to use me for what? To shed light upon who everyone that I encounter, right?
Hmm.
And I think that sometimes we miss that in life. And as we go through life's experiences, sometimes our light can be dimmed a little bit, right?
That's right.
And one thing that I know, like how God was able to help me with my life, was to say, when I was little, we used to always sing, we went to camp. It was called Scripture Safari. And it's so crazy, people, when you see the beginning of, what's the name of the movie? What's Love Got to Do with a young Tina Turner? She's
Yeah.
singing, this
Hmm.
little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine, right?
Right.
As a kid, when you grow up, in church, we went to Scripture Safari as a day camp. So those are some of the songs that you learn, right? This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine.
Hmm.
But you don't understand what that light is until you get older, right? Because
That's
as a
right.
kid, you thinking that's a real light, right? Although you understand Jesus is the light of the world, you sing all these songs as a kid, but it begins to make sense as you get older and you realize that you are the embodiment of Christ, right?
You
And
are.
if you are the embodiment of Christ and you walk with God and God walks with you and you carry of his spirit is the light, right? So this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. I'm going to let the Spirit of God shine through me in each and everything that I do, in what I say, and how I encounter people, and how I interact with people, even in how I allow people to experience me, right? But
Hmm.
sometimes we go through life experiences where that light begins to dim,
It does.
and then it's like, okay, now how do I get this light back?
Hmm.
God, you haven't left me. Your word tells me that. Your word tells me that you shall never leave, you shall never forsake me. Your word tells me that you are a present help in the time of trouble.
Time of
Your
trouble.
word
That's right.
tells me, you know what I'm saying, that basically, shoot, I have 10,000 coming against me here, 7,000 coming against me here,
And-
but just with your sword, you will strike them down. So if
That's
I
right.
know this in my heart, right, I know this, but why is my light dimming, right? And then, it can dim because we're experiencing life.
That's right. And we have to constantly um, keep reminding ourselves of the fact that what God has brought me through before. Like he did it before, and he could do it again. Sometimes we sort of lose sight of the power of God and the glory of God when things start to dim. I mean, there's still times right now that I have to remind myself, girl, why are you feeling sad today? Like why are you upset about this? When you know that, all you have to do is trust God and just believe God and leave this, in God's hands, and everything is going to turn out for the good. There's been so many I can't think, there's been so many times. I remember, like, back when I was raising my daughters and alone at the time, and how there were times when we didn't have any food to eat, and I just get on my knees and pray, and I'd be like, God, I'm working so hard. I don't know what else I can do right now, but I need you to please provide for my family, and please, I don't want my children to go hungry tonight, and how people would show up at my door with groceries, like out of the blue, or how I would, fast for a time, and I would fast, and I'd be like, God, I really, this bill has to be paid, God, and I don't know how it's going to happen. But you said in your word that all I had to do was come to you and ask, and it shall be given, and just knock, and the door would be open. You said this in your word, God, and you said that your word would not return unto you void, So if you said this is all I have to stand on. This is all that I have to trust and believe right now. And I'm going to do that. And I'm giving this to you. And how I go out to my mailbox and there'd be a check out there that I never expected to be there, And so many times, God has just shown himself to me over and over and over again, in my time of humbleness and just trusting him and believing him. I know I've had boards in my house where I've written down things that I need God to take care of, or I'm just praying and I'm trusting, I'm giving this to God and believing it, and how I go back after a month's time and I'm like, wow, I got to scratch that off, and I can scratch that off, and I can scratch that off, because God already done fixed it. I ain't even wasn't even paying attention to that. It's already been taken care of, So God is just so powerful, and I just, my experience, my growing and in Christ has been just amazing. My spiritual journey and my walk. It's just, I want people to be able to, especially people that knew that Fran before, to be able to see me now, and be able to immediately tell that she's so different than what she was, and pray that it be a blessing to them to see that.
And I'm sure that it really and truly is, right? Like, at the end of the day, as we grow, those around us watch the growth in us, and like I know, even for myself, a lot of people that are in my core circle, they're just like, Nakia, you just grown so much over, like, these last 5-6 years, right? Like, I remember, but now to see you blossom, and to see you doing all the things that you really set out to do. And I think that we let our life speak, right?
That's right.
My life shall tell my story, and one of the things that I realized is that in life, we tell a story of what happened, but our life continues on to give the story of what is yet still to come. Every day that we live, we're living for what is still yet to come. So every day we're creating for what is yet to come. So, like, today I've created for tomorrow. Tomorrow I will create for the next day and the next day. And every day that we build upon that, that's how we are to build upon life, creating, and I think that sometimes when our light dims, we fail to create. So then we stay in a cycle.
That's right.
Where we can't see, we've lost vision, we've
Mm-hmm.
lost hope, we've lost the light, and now we're in a cycle and we're like, wait a minute, why am I here? What is going on? And then, like you said, God will just show up.
Yep, just show up. Just show up. Yeah.
And be the provider,
Mm-hmm.
be the sustainer, be the comforter, be the way maker,
All of that.
be the problem solver, be the restorer, be the redeemer. Like he shows up
Again.
And then
again, just like he's already done before, and then we have to be like, Dad, go on, like I crazy of me that I didn't trust and believe this, to know that, I allow myself to go through that sad and that dark and that deep moment, where I'm sitting around worrying and being frustrated, when all I had to do was just trust, believe, and just wait, just sit back and wait and let God do what he do, like he's always done before. So.
And like the magicalness of it is the fact that, he makes himself present ever again.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So there's never a time where we have to question, is he here? Because he's here, even in the quiet moments, he's yet and still here. There's they always say there's some lessons that you're going to have to learn when God is quiet. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to learn those, right? Because at the end of the day, he's just like, I've given you the wisdom. I've given you the knowledge. I've given you the intelligence. I have given you the word. So now I need you to just apply it now. You got to apply it. And I got to sit back and watch what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are other times when he's just like, okay, I know you all right. Here I come. I'm here.
Right.
Don't even worry. I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's in both those times that we recognize that we are not our own.
That's right.
And that we are equipped, that we are able, and that we have the knowledge base and the know-how to go and search and to go get,
Mm-hmm.
I think I never forget there was a time I would hear people say, I'm just waiting for God to bless me with a job. And I would be like, well, did you apply to any?
Right.
No. Well, how are you going to bless you with something that you ain't apply for?
Right. It's just going to drop out the sky.
How does it work? How does it going to work? God is going to give me a house because the prophet said God is giving me a house. How your credit?
Exactly.
It's not good. What house is he giving you? Where do you work?
Amazing.
I don't have a job. What car is he giving you? And sometimes I think that sometimes we place a lot of unrealistic expectations on God and then wonder why, and then say he ain't provided. He ain't real. No, your expectation wasn't real.
You're right. Exactly. So true.
And sometimes we got to deal with that. Sometimes we have to deal with our own self. And I think that through the journey of I am just a vessel, we then learn how to deal with ourselves.
Yeah, we do.
Our decision making, our choices, what we decided that quite possibly wasn't God's decision for us, but it was a road that we decided to take.
And how often do we go before God to seek out, advice, or, so often we are in our own headspace and, and we get caught up in what we feel is right, but how often do we go to God and, and just seek out some answers as to if this is the way that you would have me to go, God, give me direction and, and help me to understand where I need to be or how I need to be right now, or, what steps I need to take. So often we jump out there and we do things on our own without consulting God. And then, and then we wonder so often why things turn out the way that they do. there was one little part in here that I wrote in my book that I love talking about, that let me see where it starts at right here. Stop expecting God to keep sending you blessings and you keep doing what you want to without consulting him, without praying or spending any time with him. That's like being married to one person and expecting them to take care of you, but you living with someone else. That's not fair to God.
Right.
And that's what it's like, like we're expecting these things all the time, but we're expecting it to just happen out of happenstance, and that we put no effort whatsoever to making those things happen, or not glorifying God in any kind of way. And I say to end that paragraph, I said, so if it's too difficult, it seems too harsh to live by the rules and the regulations laid out for us in the Word of God, then it's your choice. But don't be mad at anyone but yourself when your return is just what you deposited. Nothing.
Nothing.
$0. Nothing. 000. You haven't deposited anything. Don't expect, don't get upset with anyone, when you don't get anything in return, So
Be upset with yourself.
right.
Okay.
Exactly.
Be upset with yourself. Say, self, I messed up because I didn't put nothing in and I expected a whole lot out. Be upset with you.
That's so true.
Y'all gonna stop blaming God for the things you ain't put in. Okay.
Yeah. And
That's what y'all gonna stop doing.
we're allowed to. I mean, he gives us that option to make choices in our life, which he's such an awesome God, but he also gives us the tools to make the right choices, so we have so many things in our favor, and we just have to use those tools, and we have to get past, it's just so many different things that I have learned.
We got to get past us.
That's exactly it. Us. Ourselves. And that battlefield of that mind will mess you up.
It definitely will.
It will mess you up. So, that's what we have to get past. And sometimes I just have to, I just seriously have to get up and pray. And sometimes even before, like I'm on my way to work, I'm praying and I'm asking God to be with me, help my thoughts and the things that I'm feeling and different things that I may be going through. It's just giving recognition to God and realizing that he's real and that we can go to him and cast our cares upon him. Proverbs 12:15 says that the way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but a wise man listens to advice. So, sometimes we have to just stop being a fool, and
get out of our
stop
own
thinking
way.
that we got this all figured out.
Yeah. And be willing, ready, and receptive of advice.
That's right.
Of help. Of possibly a different direction. Sometimes we can be our own worst enemy when it comes down to how do we move forward in life. And we have to learn how not to do that.
Right.
We like our own thoughts, but when someone else comes to us with a thought, it's I need to understand this, that, and the third. I need to, and it's like, okay, go through the motion of the understanding and then come back and see what it is,
Right.
And a lot of the times, most times we'll talk ourselves out of something that could be great.
That's right.
Which is sad, but and then that becomes its own life experience, right? That becomes that becomes your other part of the story,
Right. Exactly.
That becomes almost, and then no, and it's okay because these are the things that we have to learn in life, that we're gonna make mistakes, we're gonna stumble, we're gonna fall, we're gonna trip, we're gonna stub our big toe, we're gonna stub the little pinky toe and cuss once we hit it, right? Because it's gonna hurt. But at the end of the day, it's all part of the growing process of life.
That's right.
And we're yet still growing, And so as long as we're continuing to grow from yesterday into tomorrow, you good. Just keep growing.
Right.
That's why I keep telling I keep telling people, I'm like, long as we moving forward, we good.
That's
Now,
right.
if we keep going in the circle, something wrong.
Something is wrong. If something that you're doing is causing the same terrible results, then it's time for you to switch up. It's
Time for you to
time
grow.
for you to grow, and I mean, it's not about going through stuff that I say. It's about growing through it. You can't keep going around in circles and thinking that you're still doing things right. It's something that you're doing wrong, and you need to grow and figure this out. It's time to grow up and become mature people. Yes.
You said that grow up.
Grow up. That's right. Grow
That
up.
what she said? Grow up.
That's it. That's what it's time to do that. It's crazy. I have, family members and pray they listening to this right now that's constantly coming and still years. This started off years ago, and you still coming and you asking for money. You still asking, can't even get through a week, of taking care of your business, and you still asking for money, but let me not have that available. And then, then I'm something else, or are you upset with me? Are you feeling like family not looking out for you? But it's like, you're still in the same spot that you were years ago. Like it's something wrong. You need to figure this thing out. Like it's time for some tough love right now. This is crazy.
Lay it on them.
Tough. Yes. So it's really bad. And but I said all I can do is be an example. That's what my goal is right now, to be an example and try to be a blessing through the way that I live my life to others, like be a blessing to them and as they watch me, so excuse me. So that's what I'm hoping, and I'm praying that this book will get into the right hands of people that will be able to get something from this and be able to use it and apply it in their life. So
I believe so. And I put just in case anybody doesn't know, I put the link to the book. It's in the comments. I also put the name of the book in the comments. So it is called I Am Just a Vessel. It is by Fran Rogers-Williams. It is on Amazon. Order the book, because if you do find yourself in a place where you feel stagnant, order the book. If you find that you need, a little extra help to give you that push to grow and push past where you at, order the book. Because sometimes all we need is a little push, a little nudge, just a little like, move forward, please, and thank you. Just you know what I'm saying? And sometimes and what I don't want for anyone is sometimes that nudge turns into pain because you stood too long. Right? So don't get the nudge that hurt. Get the let's move forward. Okay.
That's right.
It's time for you to just move forward. Now, if you get that nudge, that'd be like, that's your fault, because I don't warn you not to get that nudge. I don't warn you about that nudge. That nudge is not the good nudge, okay? The little, I think you need to move forward past beyond where you're at. You want that nudge. That's all I'm saying.
Right. That's
you don't want the slap. You don't want that nudge, okay?
That's right.
I had that. You don't want that nudge. You hear what I'm saying? You want the nudge that's like, you want the nudge that's warning you, saying, this don't feel right. Something is off. When you feel something is off, follow the something is off. If it's off, it's off. It ain't no, just like Cardi B said, if it's up, then it's stuck. If it's off, it's off.
Right.
Get it. Stop sticking around and you feel that things is off. It's off. It's just off. Move. No, off. Thank you. Out.
That's it.
Period. Because people they ain't going to do nothing but show you why it's still off.
So true.
I mean, however, if you stay, just write a book about it when you come out. That's all I'm gonna tell you. Write a book about it.
There you go. I saw this Pinterest. One time there was a pin and it said, "We were never created to live depressed, defeated, guilty, condemned, ashamed, or unworthy. We were created to be victorious." And so we have to move in that. We have to trust and believe in that, keep that in our heads, keep that in our hearts and in our minds, and just look forward to being victorious, and just trusting and believing that we can give things to God and not so much have to worry about, I always say, if you're going to pray about it, then don't worry about it. If you're going to worry about it, don't pray about it. Those two things just don't go together. You do one or the other, and I really like the results of praying about something and not worrying about it. I like the results of that. It always turns out good. It always turns out good.
Well, that's good. I do both.
Mm-hmm.
So
I do too. I'm not trying to say that I don't,
I
but
do both.
right. I do too. I promise you I do. But it's when I decide that, you know what, I'm gonna let that go. When I finally get that in my
No,
head to
yeah,
just
that's when
let
you
it
like
go, just
that
let it
piece.
go.
You're like, okay.
It's a peace. It's a
Mhm.
beautiful thing. But yep, and I still next week or next month, I find myself worrying about something again.
And the Lord knows it.
But
And
it's
then we finally say, all right, you know what, it's okay.
right.
And then boom.
I come back. I come back. It's a blinder. It's a blinder that's put on to just, to keep us stagnant or, keep us in a place. But, when I like that saying about, when I put my feet on the floor in the morning, I want to feel like the enemy say, "Dag, she up again," because I want to feel that powerful.
Now that's the up that stuck, okay?
Right.
That's the up that stuck. That's right. Mm-hmm.
That's right. That's what I want to happen. So
I like that. So do you have any final thoughts to just leave the people, like with regards to you, the book, healing, moving forward, all of that?
Well, hopefully I've summed it up in something that I've said throughout this actual podcast. I just truly pray that you will get the book, that people will get the book, that you will not just read the book, but you will tell others about the book, and that it will be a blessing to you and to others. There is so much in here. There's a whole lot of meat for you to get from this, and it might even be some bone that you leave behind. But I promise you, by the time you're finished reading this book, you're gonna be full with something, and there's gonna be something that you're gonna be able to take from this, and it be a blessing to your life. So I just pray that you get it.
And that's what it is. And I pray that everyone does truly support Miss Fran with her book, I Am Just a Vessel, understanding that we are all just vessels in whom God uses in order to do what? Spread his light, spread his joy, spread his peace, spread his love, spread his wisdom, spread his knowledge, spread his insight, even spread the comfort of God. This is what we are here for.
That's what we're here for.
Purchase the book, I Am Just a Vessel, and allow God to use you in the way in which he chooses to use you. Like Fran said, from when she was little, she just knew, I am God's chosen.
That's right.
Okay? So when you recognize who you are and you know who you are, that you are God's chosen, you could walk around and say, if you walk around and say it just like that, I am God's chosen. Okay?
I'm one of God's chosen people. That's right.
One. Okay? And can't nobody take that from me.
That's
okay?
Right.
Because I'm yet still his. And when you know your identity in him, it don't matter what anybody else says or does. Right. I am. Because I began it with I am. If he say I am, that I am, and that I am is in me, therefore I am.
I am. Amen. That's right.
Okay? God's chosen.
That's right.
Period. The end. And with that, I want to thank you. Thank you so much for coming on the Muzzle Is Off podcast and sharing with us your story. Thank you so much for sharing with us your book, sharing with us your experience. Even tonight, presence of God is yet here.
Yes.
So I
Yes, it
thank
is.
you for
Mhm.
coming on here and just spreading all of the goodness that you have, your joy, your light. It radiates through even the computer. So I know
Awesome.
anybody that is going to listen to this afterwards or watch it, that they are truly going to be blessed by your words, and feel comforted to know that, you know what, I was in that situation too. And God always showed up for me. And thank you for being transparent in the book to
Amen.
give the people exactly what they need. So thank you, and thank you.
Thank you, Nakia, for having me.
You are welcome
Yes.
anytime, especially
Yes.
when you come back with that second book.
All right.
Contact
Awesome.
me, come back on the Muzzle podcast, and I will be glad to have you on here. And we can talk about that journey too.
That's
How
right.
the second book journey. Listen, because it works. Every book that you write is a journey through the mind onto that paper, and then into the masses, into the hands of the people to be what? Healed, restored, set free,
That's right.
delivered. That's what we do when we write. That's what we're doing.
That's right.
So. Thank you so much. Tune in, y'all, next week to the Mothers of Podcast. We're going to be back on Wednesday. We are sticking with the whole theme for this month. It is Black History Month, and we are showing all of our great Black people and everything, all the accolades, all the accomplishments that we are doing. So next week, we're going to have a special treat from Mr. Fashion himself, and I can't wait to have him on because he is another young Black entrepreneur, and he does so much as a creative director, stylist, and all this, everything that he does is just great. So he'll be on next week, and we're going to talk all things fashion, all things creative, all things that we need to talk about, because I think it's important that we begin to project the image that we want to project. And that means physical appearance is part of the image that we want to project.
That's
so
right.
We're going to have him up on here next week. I can't wait to talk about all things fashion. So once again, thank y'all for tuning in tonight. And until next week, y'all, good night.
Good night.